Well, this is why people have got so much distrust, particularly in the mainstream left-wing media in the United States, because it's almost as if they're pretending like this has just happened since the debate. George Clooney saying, well, OK, his mind was made up since that fundraiser a couple of weeks ago. Well, as you've been reporting, and Fox News, our colleagues in the US and us here at Sky, we've been reporting this for years. It's not like it's a recent thing. So what have they been doing?
Well, here's the thing, and it's so incredible. We see all of these reports here from people. George Clooney saying, oh, I knew there was something wrong with him. All of these other Democrats saying, I knew something was wrong with him. People saying, oh, in a meeting in Germany, months ago, a year ago, he couldn't make the meeting, so Blinken had to come in and sit with him. All of these stories, everybody's saying behind closed doors there's a problem here. And then this huge conspiracy of silence, which the media, much of the media, the left-wing commercial media, took part in because they thought we can't tell people the truth because they might vote for Donald Trump.
It's Hunter Biden, the laptop too.
Well, it's not just a laptop. It is a laptop. That was really sinister, and that's how we saw how far they would go to protect Biden. And let's remember, some history is important here. Joe Biden became the nominee in 2020, not because they thought he could beat Donald Trump. He was the compromise candidate to beat Bernie Sanders. Let's go back and remember all of the history that has brought us to this point. He was never the guy they wanted, and now he's the guy they're stuck with. And the reason why the media is being so savage with Joe Biden now is because suddenly that debate exposed them, and they look like idiots, and now they're turning on the guy they covered for.
I mean, we can't be fooled. We can't be fooled. I mean, we know what we've been seeing.
Of course.
He hasn't been able to string a thought together. He can't do anything without the teleprompter, which is part of what makes the press conference so fascinating today, if it turns out he's going to do it. Do you think he's going to do it because it's been delayed for a second time?
Well, look, at this point, anything can happen, but I'll tell you what, overnight here, and I'm going to be talking a lot more about this tonight on the U.S. Report at 8 o'clock on this station, CNN has reported there hasn't been a full cabinet meeting since last October. And when there is a cabinet meeting, everybody has to submit their questions in advance and what dot points they're going to say and what they're going to talk about. It's an entirely staged managed affair. This is the way they behave in a banana republic, not the way that you behave in the greatest democracy in the world.
And this is a problem that's entirely of the Democrats making. Now they're like, well, OK, we're a few months out from a general election. What are we going to do? Do we go with Biden? Kamala Harris, she's not popular. Her only job is the southern border, and she fluffed that entirely. Then we're going to get an unknown, as Mick Mulvaney was talking about.
And the other thing, too, you can't, how is it that if you're the Democrats and your entire thing is DEI and inclusion and affirmative action and everything else, how do you pass over your black woman vice president for a white guy like Gavin Newsom? Not going to happen. But this is where we are. This is a critical moment. This could be the end for this administration.
I mean, Donald Trump, he doesn't have, not that he's going to, but he doesn't have to do anything. He can just sit back and watch this all implode.
He's following Napoleon's old adage, never get in the way of your enemy when they're making a mistake. And, mostly since that debate, he's been pretty quiet. And that's a pretty smart strategy because it keeps people talking about Biden and not his reaction.
All right. James Morrow, good to see you as always. We'll talk to you again soon. We are not quite going to take a break. No? Should we just keep talking? Let's just keep talking for a few more moments.
Sure.
Well, I mean, in terms of this, have we ever seen a sitting US president with moves to dislodge from his own party? Has this ever happened before?
Well, the thing we're thinking about here, we're thinking about two things. Number one, Watergate and Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974. But then the other thing that really I feel like is a much closer analog to this is 1968. When Lyndon Johnson, under huge pressure over the Vietnam War and domestic pressures and inflation and protests and everything else, said, and he got up and he had the cameras come into the Oval Office. He didn't know what he was going to say until the very last minute, and he announced that he was not going to stand again for the presidency. Now, that was initially a very popular move, but then in the weeks afterwards, Bobby Kennedy was shot, Martin Luther King was shot, and history took a different path.
This is a big moment in history.
This is a very big moment in history.
And
I mean, and again, it's like one of those things that normally, you would just say, oh, haha, it's just a little fluff. But in the midst of all of this, and it's also in the midst, let's also remember, too, there's the question of his medical condition. Very serious, because there are questions about, does he have Parkinson's? There's been a Parkinson's expert who has been confirmed going to the White House. They're very cagey about this. And a lot of medical experts say that, looking at him and the things that he displays, the symptoms he displays, suggest that he's, on course for this sort of degenerative condition, which is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But, we need to play it straight with the American people. If he has this, you got to tell us. Can he continue? Well, I don't think so.
I think Barnaby Joyce was good to chat to last hour because, you know, he's come out quite forcibly to suggest, I mean, what his family needs to do is intervene because it's actually quite cruel now. What started as, you know, something that he was mocked and it was, you know, people laughed at it. Well, it's gone well beyond that now. And, you know, the government here, it's got to say political things and say, well, this is a matter for the American people. Keir Starmer said that as well. But, I mean, the family have got a role to play here too. I mean, Jill's got a role to play here. Hunter even, if he's taking his counsel.
Well, he is. Hunter's very close to his counsel. Hunter is very much involved with this. But Jill Biden likes the office. Hunter needs a pardon, quite potentially. And Joe is stubborn. Joe is absolutely stubborn, and he will not go unless he's absolutely forced out of there with a crowbar.
All right, so they preferred talking to us than an ad break, eh? We should take that as a compliment, James
There you
Morrow.
go.
Hey, my colleague James Morrow here. Very good to talk to you. Thank you, James. We'll talk to you again soon.